Head of the
Evening, pioneers of change. Welcome to the first episode of the Foolproof 101. And I will be your host tonight, Nell Divine Dulay. In this episode, we will be tackling some of the most prevalent matters that our society is facing today. And who else would give us an insight on these issues? None other than our fellow youth leaders here in the Lyceum of the Philippines, University, Manila. Joining us tonight are the top caliber representatives of their respective organizations. It is my pleasure to welcome and introduce our first guest, the president of the LPU Lex, Mr. John Efren Fame. Good evening, Mr. Fame. Please greet our
Good
audience
evening.
that's going to watch us.
I just want to say thank you for giving me for having me here, rather. And then I just want to say thank you for all of the audience that watching us here right now. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. We also have the president of the Foreign Service Club, Miss Christine Valdez. Good evening, Miss Valdez.
Good evening, everyone, and I may say good day to everyone who will be watching this event. I may say it is an honor to be as a guest of this event, and I hope that the audience will learn a thing or two about everything that we will discuss here.
All right, well said. Up next, we have the Director General of LPU UNESCO, Mr. Yuri C. Lemana. Good evening, Mr. Lemana. Welcome to the program.
Good evening, everyone, especially to our your guests, our guest speakers, as well as to those who are watching this event. It is my pleasure to be invited to your event in LPUPAIR, and hopefully we can have a rich discussion here, and our learners, our watchers as well, could learn our 2 cents of the issue.
All right, thank you so much. Last but definitely not the least, we have the Vice President for Membership and Governance of the LPU 2030 Youth Force, Miss Arian P. Mendoza. Good evening, Miss Mendoza.
Hi, good
Welcome.
evening. I would also like to greet our viewers who will be watching this event. Good day to you, and I hope you can learn something from this roundtable discussion and become more aware of the issues that will be discussed here.
All right, thank you so much. At this point, there will be no masking, no sugar coating. Fools not allowed. This is Foolproof 101. So, let us now dive into our first topic. Okay, let's wait. Okay. On July 10, CHED Chairman Prospero de Vera III claimed that colleges and universities are ready to commence online classes for the academic year 2020-2021. despite the COVID-19 pandemic. He said that learning must continue and that they will be implementing flexible learning to match the students' pace. However, reports of students committing suicide upon 3 months of attending online classes have emerged here and there. So, may I ask, how are you right now, Miss Valdez? Miss Valdez?
Hi, hi, am I audible?
Yes, a bit. Is
Yeah,
your
okay. Hi,
camera on?
yeah, I'm doing fine.
Okay.
Am I
So,
on?
how are your
Yeah,
classes so
yeah.
far?
To be honest, yeah, online class is quite difficult and different from face-to-face classes because I think that in online classes you will learn more limited, or you have the need to emphasize with everything that needed to discuss. Unlike in the face-to-face classes, we're able to maximize everything that we need to learn, and I think that is one of the things that I've had trouble during the online classes, because I think some of the discussions needed more elaboration and needed more to be discussed. And yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much. So, how about you, Miss Mendoza? How are you right now, and how is your new normal of studying?
Like Miss Valdez, I'm also having a hard time kasi for me, online classes is really not effective. Hindi
Mm-hmm.
nga I mean, personally, hindi nga effective sa akin yung like magbasa through screens. Much
Yes.
more ngayong online classes, nahihirapan ako kasi to maximize the given time. And parang kumbaga you have a week for prelim, a week for midterms, a week for finals, which is very hard kasi ang dami mo pang gustong matutunan, lalo na sa course namin, as an
Yes.
international relations student, parang ng in-depth discussion of other things. So, mahirap talaga siya. And personally, it's not effective for me.
Okay. Thank you so much for that insight. So, how about you, Mr. Fame? How is your online
Yeah,
classes?
just
How are you right now?
just like I said, I'm doing right now. I'm doing great right now. But the problem is regarding the online class. I'm quite not sure. Simply because we also know that online classes, uh, yeah, just like what they said, hindi sa ganun compatible
Mm.
when it comes to what happened right now. Especially for those part na yung ibang estudyante is nahihirapan sila when it comes to internet connection. There's so many calamities that happen, and then that's one of the reason why. And lastly, to become honest, before 1 week walang kuryente dito sa amin, and that's one of
Oh,
the I think biggest challenges that that the student might encounter during the new normal classes. Especially in my course as a legal management student, we practice Socratic method of learning, where
yeah.
the professors was going to choose any index card. It's random, and then
Mm-hmm.
they're going to call name and then ask for a question. But right now, how about the first year? For me to become specific, for those first year talagang nahihirapan sila kasi yung the way na pagtuturo sa kanila is hindi katulad ng face to face.
Yeah.
Especially when you are legal management, it is effective if you're going to use a face to face rather than what do you call this, a new normal when it comes to online class. So napakahirap talaga kung titignan natin. And then there's such thing na may mga professors din talaga na hindi ganun ka-considerate sa atin. But all in
Mm.
all, as of now, I'm okay. I'm done with all my requirements. But the new normal thing is, it is not, hindi pa siya nagda-digest sa akin masyado.
Yes. Feel you, Mr. Fame. That's very true. And how about you, Mr. Lemana? How are you right now, and how is your new normal of studying?
Well, I've been used to studying through my laptop and other electronic devices. So for me, really, to be frank, nothing really changed.
Mm-hmm.
However, um, when you talk about the preference of for face-to-face classes, I really believe that it is better to learn in face-to-face classes. There are a lot of distractions when you're studying at home. And also the internet connection in the Philippines has been described by one research as intermittent. Although there's access, it's not really stable, it's not reliable, and we lack in ICT development and infrastructure. So that's one thing that Shed should actually consider when they implemented when they continued this semester.
Yes, so there are a lot of struggles that us students are undergoing right now because of the online classes. So just a reminder, if you don't or if you're not comfortable of speaking straight English, you can always switch to the Filipino. It's okay. So in relation to that, would ending the semester immediately or not having classes at all due to the pandemic be considered as a good or necessary idea? What do you think, Miss Valdez? Yes.
Okay, so personally, I think that ending the classes would do more harm because I
Mm-hmm.
think we have to consider then because yung mga professors and students na sobrang madidelayed na nung classes or if we're going to stop it, madidelay na madidelay considering na yung mga sobrang maapekto nito ay yung nag-take ng K to 12 classes. Ay, K to 12, I mean rather, nung yung incoming K to 12. Okay, sorry.
This coming year.
Then then we have to consider din kasi yung mga institution, schools and teachers na maapektuhan din. Once na in-end natin yung semester or hindi tayo nagklase, sila din yung isang maapektuhan dito. They could lose their jobs and some institution already right now closing their schools because they don't have enough enrollee or they're going bankrupt. And so yeah, I think that because if considering that the education right now is not that enough, but it is um necessarily because if we're going to end it nga in if we're going to end it right now, it would be more delayed and will do more harm.
Okay, so thank you so much. Do you have the same thoughts as well, Mr. Lemana?
Somehow it really depends. You need to look at this issue comprehensively.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Valdez was correct in saying about the economic ramifications of ending the classes. You have to ensure the maintenance of these higher educational institutions. But also you need to look at those students who are really not really part of the privileged class. These
Yes.
are the really students who are left behind. But um, again, as I said, it must be. We need to look at it comprehensively. I think that what we should do is to focus on students who lack those capacities for learning and materials, tools for learning. Support them. But ending the class is, I think, it's not really a good idea. We need to help. It must be the policy should be target specific. You need to target those who are actually in need because not every students are also, they don't have the same problems as others. So we need to focus on those who are in need, who are lacking in materials, and let learning continue. Because if we look at, our neighbors in ASEAN, they're continuing the classes. So it is really not beneficial in the overall context of the Philippines.
Yes, thank you so much. So, Miss Mendoza, have you ever encountered people or maybe some of your friends ranting about neglecting their daily needs just to get the passing mark? Hello, Miss
Yeah.
Mendoza. Yes.
Yes,
So
I have
tell
seen
us
some
about your
tweets.
friends, like who are ranting about it.
I have seen some tweets from my friends na um, yun nga medyo, kumbaga nagka-clash yung daily responsibilities nila with their academic responsibilities.
Yes.
And yun nga, yun lang yung thought, yung same, yung similar, yung thoughts ng tweets nila, lahat ng mga nakikita ko through social media, na yun nga, nahihirapan silang kumbaga i-balance yung kailangan nilang gawin outside um, school and yung mga kailangan nilang gawin for school.
Yes. So how about their self-care routine? Do they neglect it as well? Do you hear that from them that nahihirapan ako, hindi ko na maalagaan yung sarili ko dahil nandito? Do you have those kind of rants that
Yes.
you give?
Yes, actually, it's more of the, yung parang mental care talaga. Doon siya,
Mm,
hindi siya more on like the physically and it's sa physical. Parang, yung nakikita ko sa mga friends ko, like, pag nagkukwento sila, like, hindi na nila, hindi, kumbaga may mga days na hindi nila kaya. Kasi nga, syempre, you cannot, ano naman, you cannot help pag sa mga ibang araw pag nafe-feel mong, you know, if you're sad, ganyan-ganyan, hindi mo naman makokontrol yung mental health mo eh. So,
yes.
so yun nga, more on yung naapektuhan din talaga yung mental health nila, more on doon kesa sa physical thing. Ganun.
Ayan. Okay, thank you so much. So, Mr. Fame, do you think flexible learning is well implemented? And can we say that
Uh,
online learning is still healthy?
I think it is not so what do you call this?
Well
Hindi siya ganun. Ano ba?
implemented? Not well implemented?
Yes, I think it is not well implemented, but at the same time, the government and especially the CHED is doing his or her best just to prove that the online class is feasible right now. So kasi ganito yan, isa sa case-to-case basis. So pag tinignan natin kasi, it is depends on the student talaga. So katulad ng sinabi kanina, it is inclined with Miss Arian kanina. Katulad nun, if I have a friend of mine which has emotional problem, and then alam natin na kapag nagkaklase tayo, we are comfortable if we are in our school when we are studying. But the problem if we are in our home and then there's a problem, a family problem inside the home, and then you are doing your class. So just think about it. We can ignore the fact that the family problem can affect your classes as a student in online class. So it is flexible, but it is not should I say not so flexible. But the most important thing, if the child, I think the best recommendation for child is to become considerate, because considerate on the situation, also in the materials of those people and then students na meron naman, kasi hindi naman lahat mayaman. Tama naman, hindi lahat may laptop, hindi lahat may cellphone. So that
That's
said,
true.
must be create a policy which is student friendly, not
Yes.
only on their part. Kasi dapat case to case, so we need to balance those.
Okay, thank you so much. So, here's another question. Iba sa atin sa mga college students. So, ito yung atin. So, let's go to the sphere of the elementary and high school students. So, how about those students in elementary and high school who actually answer and submit modules? How do you think will this affect the quality of education that they have? So, anyone who wants to answer first? Okay, so Mr. Lemana, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I think it drastically it has a drastic effect on the learning of on the learning capabilities as well as development of high school elementary students,
Mm-hmm.
precisely because this this students are not, they're not at the age wherein they're able to adapt quickly, especially during the pandemic.
Yes.
And as you also have the concern of plagiarism. Sino ba yung gumagawa ng homework and modules ng mga estudyante? Parents ba o siya ba talaga?
Yes.
And there are also issues on the mental health of these students, because their cognitive development is not as developed as college students.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to look at the mental health perspective as well. So
Yes.
again, it has drastic effects on their learning development. Uh, as much as possible, we hope that government would be able to address COVID-19, and so that we can return to face-to-face classes, and the students be able to learn on hand with their teachers. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. So, anyone else who would like to add to Mr. Lemana? How about Miss Valdez?
Yeah, I kind of agree with everything Yuri said. I also like to add that some of the kids, since nasa bahay lang sila, I think that
Mm-hmm.
kids are more closely to be distracted of everything that they do.
Yes.
And I think that in the parents part, it mahirap din yon kasi since the parents have to balance everything from taking care of their kid and also teaching their kids. And I think that one of the things that problematic is that hindi nga din nila naintindihan nga yung mga sinasabi. The teacher has to explain everything pa. The parents have to explain everything pa. And um, some of the problem is that the module hindi din enough yung mga ibang pinoprovide ng mga DepEd para maintindihan din. So I think that that is one of the things that's struggling especially sa kanila.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss
That would be
Valdez.
all.
Okay, thank you. So, Miss Mendoza, I have a question. What do you think of those parents who were the ones answering the modules and not the students? What can you say about that?
Actually, I'm very against it. Kasi nga,
Mm-hmm.
gaya nga ng sinabi ni Yuri na like, kung na naapektuhan yung learning ng mga bata. And yung mga, lalo na yung mga nasa elementary stage, andun kasi sila sa age na kumbaga, nagpo-form pa yung um, cognitive ability nila. Parang nasa-shape pa siya, hindi pa siya mature. So, parang kailangan pa nila ng more learning. And kung
Yeah,
yung parents yung gagawa, parang useless din. Parang yung bata, parang masasanay na lang na, si mommy yung gagawa. Like,
they're
parang
being
mag-stay na,
dependable.
yes, hindi magde-develop yung learning abilities ng bata kasi yung parents yung gumagawa. So, with our with the new normal classes today, so sana nga yung mga parents, instead na sila yung gumawa para lang, matapos na agad, dapat maging patient sila in teaching their child. Kasi nga nandun sa stage yung bata na kung ano, na kailangan, na nag-form pa lang yung knowledge and yung basic foundation na kakailangan nila in the near future.
All right, thank you so much. And those were very interesting insights, dear guests. Let us now move on to our next topic. In the data given by We Are Social's Digital Report 2019, about 76 million Filipinos are social media users, with its biggest age group falling under 18 to 24 years old, making up 33% of active users. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok are some of the most popular social media platforms used by netizens today. So, can I ask Mr. Lemana, are you an avid user of social media?
Well, I try not to.
Okay, but you
So
are.
yeah, and
Okay. So, what is the importance of social media to you?
not really much on importance,
Mhm.
more of a hindrance. I think
Okay.
I think basically the importance of social media is really to communicate with a large number of people. It
Yes.
has been the dominant form of communication among the population in general, especially in the Philippines. But it also has its pernicious effects on us. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I, I I hope that you've watched the documentary on Netflix called The Social Dilemma,
Uh-huh.
wherein they really pointed out how this social media platforms try to subtly change our behavior because as you've flashed in the screen, the social media platforms are supposed to be free, but
Mm-hmm.
as pointed out in the documentary, if it's free, we are the products here. Our data is the product, so we have to be mindful of using social media.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Lamana. How about you, Miss Mendoza? What is your frequently used social media application?
Um, Facebook Messenger is my frequently used social media application talaga. As in, super.
And what are the special features that of that app that you like most?
Um, Actually, hindi ko like, I don't like Messenger kasi ayoko ng, like, nag-chat talaga.
Okay, so
Pero parang it's more of a necessity kasi like andun yung
mhm.
mga group chats and all. So, parang wala kang choice. Parang I don't like it kasi nga ayoko ng may nag-chat talaga all the time. Pero I have no choice. So, yeah.
Okay, so now it's time to look back at the Twitter hashtags that went viral for the past months. So at this point, we will be showing tweets under each trending hashtags. Then I'll be asking for your reactions and some questions regarding the topic. Okay, there we have it. Viral Twitter hashtags. So for the first hashtag, we have hashtag junk anti-terror law. So let's start with Mr. What should we expect from the passing of the ATL?
Kung ano
What
yung
should we expect
So,
passing?
we expect siguro the power of the government. Power
Mm-hmm.
in this time, we should expect for the powerful government, because it's stated on the law that there's the definition of the terrorism is so very general. So even me, you, all of us can be subjected for this kind of law. So expect for worse, but expect also for the better. So sabi nga nila, paghandaan natin yung digmaan. I mean, maghandaan natin yung digmaan, and then for a better, mas maganda na rin na sumunod tayo sa batas. But expect then that there's some human rights violation na mangyari. I think so.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Fama. So, Mr. Lemana, why do you think a lot of people, particularly students, were alarmed about this law? Do you think its definition of terrorism is quite excessive?
Now, I would like to uh, state a disclaimer. I'm not a law expert. I'm not
Okay.
studying law. But when you look at the discourse that is happening around in Twitter and in other social media platforms, this um, this um, sort of condemnation coming from students and also the youth sector in general of the anti-terror law stems generally from the perceived red tagging of activists and
Mhm.
an attack to democratic rights of peaceful assembly and the freedom of expression. So as pointed out
Yes.
by Mr. John Famif, the definition of terrorism is vague, and so the students from the especially those who are involved in activism um, we are really alarmed of the
Mhm.
passage of the anti-terror law. So it somehow when we look at this discourse, I have studied President Duterte's political interviews, and when I was first year, and one thing that I really noticed is how President Duterte red tags everyone in the opposition. Everyone in the
Mhm.
opposition is a communist, so that is really problematic, and so we don't know what will happen in the coming months and in the coming years, but hopefully the petitions filed, the more than 36 petitions filed in the Supreme Court, would really prosper.
All right, thank you so much. So, can I ask Miss Mendoza for a short reaction regarding the hashtag junk anti-terror law?
Yun nga, gaya nga ng sabi nila, yung definition ng terrorism parang so broad. Like,
Mhm.
and also, parang under the law, sinasabi nila na protest and yung mga acts of dissent, parang it's protected naman.
Mhm.
Pero, as long as they don't incite terrorism, pero who decides? Sino bang
Yes.
magde-decide? Na para and kung yung mga tao bang magde-decide, credible ba sila? Are they neutral? Kasi hindi mo alam with the culture of our Philippine politics, it's very hard to say na magiging magiging impartial sila in deciding whether an act is inciting terrorism or not.
Yes.
And the mere fact na mapagsuspetsahan ka lang na nag-incite ng terrorism, pwede ka nang maaresto. So it's very alarming, and hindi mo rin masisisi yung mga nag-oppose, ng mga nag-tweets, because it's very, very alarming talaga.
Yes, thank you so much. And Miss Valdez, can we ask about, in a few words, give us what you think about the timing of the passing of this law?
Yeah, I think since Duterte, if we're going to track Duterte's presidency, we often affiliate it more on the similarly with Marcos way, because like um if makikita natin yung mga iba na mga ano niya, there comes a time na there is instances na may um ju- sorry, may mga attacks against journalists, especially if it's opposing to them, and also yung pag-angat ng mga red tagging sa mga students, sa mga actress na especially na nag-o-oppose sa kanila. And I think that yun nga, like the other leaders have mentioned, that it is very dangerous kasi nga the provision is um, widely, so hindi siya gaano interpreted na kung alin ba yung grounds of terrorism. Um, so yeah, I think that the dangers, especially right now, the it gives more power to the government,
Mhm.
especially that you are providing more way to use this law to weaponize it against the people itself.
Okay, thank you so much for that. That was a very intense discussion indeed. For the next hashtag, okay, for our second hashtag, we have hashtag, okay, we have hashtag pass Soji now. Okay, so Soji stands for sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression. So, Miss Mendoza, are you in favor of passing the SOGI Equality Bill, and how do you think will this affect the LGBTQIA plus community?
Yes, I'm in favor of Soji Bill. Unang-una nga, kasi ang main thought nito is to create a safer space para sa ating LGBTQIA friends. And
Uh,
I think pag napas to, it will be parang a triumph for our friends. Kasi alam
mm,
naman natin kung yung discrimination na nangyayari sa society natin, yung discrimination sa kanila. And also parang
yes,
this serves as an opportunity parang to welcome rin sila. And yun nga, ang daming discrimination and all. So I think nga na dapat talagang ipasa to. Kasi ang pinaka-aim lang naman ito is to create a better place, a safer space for them. And wala naman silang ibang hinihingi kung di yun lang. The same amount of, rights, the same amount of respect na binibigay natin um, sa mga straight people. So, yeah.
yes. Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Mendoza. So, opposition says that SOGI Equality Bill would give more rights to certain people. In a short reply, do you agree with this, Mr. Fame? Yes, Mr. Fame?
Yes. Pakiulit nga.
Okay. Um, Oh, okay. Do you agree with that SOGI Equality Bill would give more rights to certain people? Can you give us just a brief explanation of your answer?
Yes, actually, it's a battle pa naman eh. It's a battle between respect and discrimination. Eh. So kasi those belongs to LGBTQ talaga. There are some cases that na ano sila na discriminate. So if I were go it's okay naman. So may bibigay siya ng rights. Actually talaga. Kasi for those certain people, lalo na sa LGBT, unang parang ganito lang yan eh. So para saan bang SOGI bill? Para sa LGBT, tama? So it only
Yes.
means there's so many certainty para kung kanino talaga kanina yung batas na yun. So there's no explanation o nandun na mismo eh. So it's Soji bill for the LGBTQ and then there's certain people na para dun sa batas na yun.
Okay, thank you so much. And how about you, Mr. Limana? What is your reaction upon this question? Or how about what is your reaction on hashtag Pass SOGI now?
Well, regarding this issue, this is not really about the exclusion of the rights of others and not about granting more rights to others. It's
Mm-hmm.
more about reaffirming the dignity of a human being, and
Yes.
it's guaranteeing access to the same rights that every one of us has, every straight people has, and this is being then you what this law allow provides is to grant those same rights as well to the LGBTQ community. So it's more on the access of those rights and more on the reaffirmation of them as a human being.
Okay, thank you so much. And Miss Valdez, do you think that it is high time for the SOGI bill to become law? What do you think?
Yes, I think that the SOGI bill right now should be implemented. not also LGBT, but also since the like I said, the SOGI bill does not only provide in one gender, but it ensures everyone every rights. So that would be all.
Okay, thank you so much. That is well said. Finally, we have the latest hashtag that previously became a series of trends already. So for our last hashtag, we have hashtag nasa pusod ko ang Pangulo. So take note, pusod po, pusod. Okay. So given what happened in a lot of areas in Luzon, huge floodings, mass displacements, billions in agricultural cost, what do you think of the government's response to this emergency, Miss Mendoza? Miss Mendoza. Okay.
Personally, I think na masyadong personally masyadong mabagal. Masyado
Okay.
silang they're too
Mm-hmm.
comfortable in their beds knowing na sila may bukas pa. And those who are affected by
Uh-huh.
the recent calamities, um, wala. Hindi sila sure. They're full of uncertainties. And
Mm-hmm.
yun nga, mabagal, nababagalan ako, for me, nababagalan ako sa response. And yung di ba, I think, tama ba ako? I think kinatan pa yung calamity funds, yung fund allocated for calamity. So,
Yes, indeed.
parang, wow,
Every
bakit?
year nababawasan siya.
Yes. And as we all know, calamity prone ng Pilipinas. So, bakit ganon? And yun nga, sana bilis-bilisan nila yung kilos kasi tumatakbo ang oras and
Mhm.
yun.
Okay, so thank you so much, Ms. Mendoza. Okay, give us a short answer. Do you think this reverence for the president is somewhat similar to a hero worship? Is this a good trait of us Filipino, Mr. Fame?
It is a good trait, depends on the perspective of those who were going to so that situation. But for me,
Mm-hmm.
as long as the president is doing his best, hindi rin kasi para kasing ang kinompare kasi for ano, 'di ba? We are comparing for those for those tag dito, for the previous ano tag dito, previous administration. So if I were going to compare
Administration.
it, yes, if we're going to compare it, parang mas ano naman siya, mas okay siya kaysa dun kay ng mga past natin. Kasi kung titignan ko, okay lang yung ano, yung mag-worship sila, wag lang susobra, baka lumaki ang ulo.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Fame. How about you, Mr. Limana? What do you think of this reverence for the president?
Absolutely ridiculous. I,
Okay, why? Why?
you know, hero worship is not a good thing. And
Yes.
this phenomenon has been brought about by Duterte's populism. You see,
Mm-hmm.
Duterte is not just the authoritarian. Those who voted for him as well and who supports him are authoritarians as well. And authoritarians has this tendency to deify a leader as a messianic figure. This shouldn't be the case. Duterte is not the
Mm-hmm.
messiah. Duterte is not the savior here, not the hero. He is a public servant. And that is how people should perceive him, not as a hero. With the immense powers of the office of the president granted to him by the Constitution, he should have the responsibility. He has the responsibility to prepare for these calamities and respond immediately, adequately, and appropriately. But the response of the office of the president has not been that way.
Okay, thank you so much. And how about you, Miss Valdez? What can you say about this reverence?
Well, I think that because of Duterte's action sa mga bagay-bagay, I think that gains him more popularity. Like Yuri said, I agree that because he's more on a populist government, a populist type of leader. I think that most of the people were um like they were drawn by the achievements made by Duterte. Despite that the extrajudicial is bad, the people think that it is safe. They have more safer place. although I think that there is in terms of worshiping, there is different between worshiping, supporting, and actually determining whether government is doing a good thing or not. I'm not this disclaimer, I'm not saying anything against, or it's just in my perspective that being you worshiping your government deprives you the ability to determine whether they are competent enough to be the competent enough in doing their job.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Valdez. So, those are very amazing answers. At this point, we will now be showing you some photos that went viral online and eventually turned into memes. So, I will be asking for your reactions regarding this and what are the realizations that hit you upon seeing the following images. So, let's proceed. So, first we have a birthday party. It happens once a year and is considered as a very special occasion. You invite your family, friends, colleagues, and all those people who became significant in your life. Celebration is not bad, but the thing is, this photo was taken during the strict implementation of the lockdown. Social distancing was a must. No to social gathering as well. And what's more, the host was the current PNP chief. So how does this mañanita reflect on our police officials and the PNP as an institution, Mr. Fame?
Ay, ito talaga, it is
Mhm.
talaga, a quite insult to the Constitution. So they are ito yung mali kasi they are making a law, and then those na nagpapatupad ng batas sila pa yung sumusuway. So
Uh-huh.
it is
Very,
a quiet
very true.
ridiculous. Yeah. Sabi nga nila, sabi manyanita kasi from the word sa manyanita, ito ginagawa to parang pangharana bago pag parang salubong sa birthday mo, something ganyan. So it is it is quiet insult talaga. Kasi alam niyo kung bakit. Kasi there are so many there is tag ito, what do you call this? A law that's stating that there's a liquor ban. There are the social distancing must be implemented. And those PNP chip pa natin mismo, makikita natin lumalabag nung ano na yon. So as far as I know sa update sa balita, si Sinas yan, tama, 'di ba? Si PNP
Yes,
General Sinas.
yes.
General Sinas is subjected for those grounds na talagang for those grounds na paglabag doon sa ano natin sa quarantine protocol. And it is talaga parang ang images ng police natin dito is naging powerful sila masyado. Kasi despite those paglabag nila is parang na-awardan pa sila. So
Okay.
parang it is quite ridiculous. Malito. Even
Okay,
though
thank you. Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Fami. Fami, Mr. Miss Mendoza, how about you? Given that no one was punished in this obvious violation of COVID guidelines and PNP Chief de Bolsinas even became the chief of police, what does this mean about the culture of impunity in the Philippines? Miss Mendoza?
Yung case ni Sinas, it highly reflects how yung culture dito sa Pilipinas when it comes to public servants, when it comes to officials, to higher officials. Na nakita na alam naman it's very clear na may nilabag na quarantine protocols si
Yes,
Sinas and
very
other
evident.
policemen. Very, very evident. Pero walang nangyari. Kasi nga, we cannot deny the fact na dahil nga high personality siya. Dahil
Yes.
nga may masasabi
Are you
nating
go?
he's on he's he's an ally kumbaga. Sabihin na lang
Uh-huh.
natin na ganun. Kaya hindi nakasuhan. Parang it reflects parang sinasabi dito na parang yun nga gaya nga ng sabi ni Mr. Fami na kung sino pa yung nagpapatupad, sila pa yung lumalabag. It's really an insult and sobrang I'm sorry pero parang sampal sa mukha ng mga
Mm-hmm.
hinuli without any yung iba nga siguro hinuli without due process
Yes.
siguro pero siya parang bakit nakitang-kita naman na lumabag siya sa protocol so yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. So those were very interesting insights. For the next photo, we have a pure relaxing site at the Manila Bay. Dolomite, an artificial sand used for beach nourishment on resorts around the world, now found in Arda Bay. People claim that this is the cure for one's mental health, but if we dig deeper on the white, sandy surface, DNR's entire project would cost about a whopping 397,500,000 pesos. What is the first thing that pops into your mind when you see this photo, Mr. Lemana?
Government waste. It's a waste
Yes.
of government resources.
Uh-huh.
Although it has been already, it has been argued that it's already included in the 2020 budget, and it's
Mm-hmm.
already, you cannot, it's unconstitutional to remove appropriations, but it could have been used for other resources. And the
Mm-hmm.
fact that the president had been given emergency powers and special powers to appropriate budget, he should have used that in other means, in other more beneficial projects.
All right. Thank you so much. So, Miss Valdez, do you agree with the DILG that the white sands in Manila Bay was a misplaced priority? Why?
Yeah, it's just a waste of money because I think that you can provide other remedies to provide good terrorism good tourism in our good tourism in our Manila Bay. Instead, they put Dolomite Sand that cost highly expensive. That I think that it could be better if they would put it in different sectors or different piece of the country.
All right. Thank you so much. And now for the last trending photo, we have okay. Under the comfort of his Colombo, President Duterte can be seen in a very peaceful sleep. This was a photo taken in the past but has re-emerged when typhoons Rolly and Ulysses struck the country. Alongside this picture came in questions like, natutulog ba ang Pangulo? Okay, so Mr. Fame, I want to hear your opinion on this photo.
So the thing is this. So as long as talaga na ako talaga, honestly speaking, I'm not against everybody, and then I'm in accordance to right sa Bill of Rights. I am not against Pangulong Duterte. So I just want to become honest to all of you. So it is quite a fake news. Even because I'm not worshiping President Duterte, but rather I'm looking as isa lang sa mga medyo okay na presidente. Siguro mas
Okay.
okay lang sa akin. So siguro natutulog ba ang Pangulo? He's not sleeping at all. Siguro at that time naging katuwaan lang siguro 'yan. Under Colombo. And then it is a quite ulitin ko sarcasm on that part. Pero nakita naman natin yung mga action sa those previous times. So it's okay. Siguro depende na lang kung paano i-accept ng Pangulo 'yan.
Okay, thank you so much. In relation to this photo, President Duterte recently claimed that work in his office starts about 1 p.m. to 12 a.m. every day. What can you say about that, Mr. Lemana?
Well, looking at the previous documentaries of Filipino presidents,
Mm-hmm.
this is the typical work schedule of a president. He
Uh-huh.
really has to work from he has more than 8 hours of work. But this photo that has been taken in the past and now reappearing in social media, becoming trending. This is basically a symbol of government response. No? Um,
Okay.
it's it, the government was not um, now it's not really about the response on the ground, because people have said that the local governments at that time during the calamities were really responsive, but the national government did not report. There was no updates from the national government, and the national government's policy has been contradictory. For example, the non renewal of the franchise of ABS-CBN. This has had ramifications to the dissemination of information. So that's really a symbolic figure, a symbolic picture of government response na tutulog ang Pangulo. Ganun.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, dear guests, pioneers of change. We are just warming up. We will be hearing more from our guests regarding Joe Biden's victory. So stay tuned as we take a short break. We'll be back. And we're back! I hope you all get the chance to rehydrate yourselves because we are now approaching the final act of our program. Without further ado, here is our topic finale. Despite the advanced victory party and false claims thrown by President Donald Trump, President elect Joe Biden remained calm and confident, eventually widening the vote gap and winning the 2020 US presidential elections with the votes 306 to 232. President Rodrigo Duterte extended his warm congratulations to the newly elected US president. Some analysts worry that the Biden administration might call out the Duterte administration for its war on drugs and alleged abuse to human rights. So what can you say about that, Miss Mendoza?
Actually, I
Hello,
have
Miss
also
Mendoza.
read those articles nga na yun nga yung projection. Well, hindi maiiwasan yun. I also agree na oo nga, baka i-call out din ng Biden administration yung human rights violations dito sa Pilipinas. It's not impossible since nangyari din yun nung administration ni Obama kung saan vice president siya. So parang yun,
Likely to
and
happen.
it's more likely to happen, and also alam naman natin na isa sa mga advocacies din ni Biden is yung human rights. So
Yes.
it's really possible na mapunan niya yung violations dito sa Pilipinas.
All right. Thank you so much. So, do you think that the government should be more cautious to Biden's administration, Mr. Fame?
Yeah, dapat kasi
Hello,
unang-una sa
Mr.
lahat
Fame.
yes, narinig niyo ako. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
we can hear
Ayun.
you.
Yes,
Yes.
syempre unang-una sa lahat like what Miss Arian said, Biden is a Democrat. Sabi nga niya, and we can ignore the fact na talagang magkakaroon tayo ng ganyang so dapat ma-alarm din ng President of the Philippines simply because it is another term, it is another legacy. So it only means that since Biden is a Democrat, so there's a possibility maungkat yan yung mga human rights violations and then nabasa rin ko sa ibang article, isa rin sa mga gusto niyang advocacies is mapagtuunan nga yung human rights violations. So sabi ko nga, even though I am okay lang sa akin si President Duterte, but those wrongdoings is hindi naman pwede yon. So, for me, kasi extrajudicial killing, so sabi nga nila, madalas kasi those people na inosente sila yung naparusahan that time. And na-experience that dito sa amin. Sabi nga sa criminal law, meron kami tinatawag na
Uh-huh.
Blackstone formula or ratio kung saan okay na mas okay nang makawala yung 10 may kasalanan kaysa maparusahan yung isang inosente. So it only means na talagang dapat its causes for the administration.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Fama. So, would President Duterte be willing to work with the newly elected U.S. President Biden, considering that way back in February this year, President Duterte said that Trump deserves to be reelected. Your thoughts, Mr. Lemana?
Well,
What can you say about
Philippine
it?
foreign policy objectives have not changed. The United States is
Mhm.
still considered as an important partner in the stability of the Asia Pacific region and as well as its prosperity. And I think the Duterte administration would I don't know. I think it would be compelled to work with the United States precisely because Biden's foreign policy the trends on foreign policy objectives of Biden would be to work really with allies in Asia to
Mhm.
work to promote freedom of navigation in the South China Sea, where the Philippines can really find an ally, and also we have to remember that Duterte, when he won the election 2016, Biden was the vice president of Obama, whom he called a lot of vulgar expressions. But this Biden is known to work with is more predictable. I think the Duterte administration would really love to work with him, precisely because it can be predicted the foreign policy of the United States, as well as there's decency as well as cooperation na hindi lang sa Twitter pagbibigay ng policy.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Lemana. And finally, we have Ms. Valdez. Um, what do you think about Biden's election?
I think
Eh,
the way that Joe Biden won, it's actually a good thing in the international levels, given the fact that most of his advocacies tackles more on openly cooperate with the African communities. He is open to more on climate change. He's open to reestablish the immigration systems, and I think that is a good thing, especially that the Joe Biden's administration really wants to push through to end for the COVID-19, and I think that um as a foreign service student, I think that it is um one of the things that is interesting na to see in the future on how it will actually affect our country.
okay, thank you so much. So, those were very insightful opinions that you have given us today, dear guest. Thank you for sharing your insights and serving the tea. I'm sure everyone who's watching us would have agreed or maybe formed their own opinions based on your viewpoints. Now, let's try to loosen up a bit as we proceed to the highlight reel of the show, Fast Talk. So, in this portion, I'll be calling your names first and then I'll be going to ask you questions. Will that be all right, dear guests?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, so let's
Yes,
start.
it's okay.
Miss Valdez, China or the US?
US.
Come again? US, why? You just feel like it.
I think US. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Lemana.
Is it the same
Mr.
question?
Lemana?
Is it the same
Yes,
question?
China or the US?
The United States. It's better to have
Oh,
the devil that you know than the devil that you don't know.
okay, very good. Now, Miss Mendoza,
Yes.
distance learning or face-to-face classes?
Face-to-face classes.
Mr. Fame, distance learning or face-to-face classes?
Face-to-face classes.
Okay. Miss Valdez. Miss Valdez,
Hello.
resiliency or
Hello.
accountability?
Accountability.
Okay. Miss Mendoza.
Always accountability.
Yes.
Miss Mendoza, resiliency or accountability? Accountability.
Accountability.
Okay. Mr. Limana, yes or no, is Dolomite good for your mental health?
No.
Okay. Mr. Fame, yes or no, is Dolomite good for your mental health?
In my eyes, yes, but in my mind, no.
Okay. And for the final question, Mr. Lemana, nasaan ang Pangulo?
How do I answer
Mr.
this?
Lemana?
He's in the Malacanang Palace.
Okay.
I don't know how to
And
joke. I'm
Miss
sorry.
and Miss Mendoza, where nasaan ang Pangulo?
Nasa puso ng mga
Miss-
worshippers niya.
All right. Okay. So those were our youth leaders under pressure. Interestingly enough, we saw them get baffled by the questions, but they remain true to their stand. So, before we come into a close, I would like to ask each of our guests to give us an important takeaways from our discussion. So, let's start off with Miss Arian P. Mendoza. The floor is
Hi.
yours.
Okay. So, sana yung makakapanood nito, malaman na a healthy discourse is very possible. And dapat maging
Mhm.
open tayo to discussions like this. And instead of ignoring the issues, yung mga issues natin ngayon, we should be open and mas maging aware tayo sa kanila. And we should learn how to communicate our opinions. And yung opinions natin must also be based on facts, not on hearsays. And I think so sana yun yung makita nila dito sa event na to, dito sa project na to.
Thank you so much. And how about you, Mr. Fame?
So yeah, and
And
before we end, I just want
takeaways?
to say thank you. I just want to say thank you in behalf of Lex organization. I just want to say thank you for all of the opportunity given to us, and also for my fellow leaders na talagang napakagagaling din talaga at nagbigay ng oras para lang dito sa ganitong klaseng event. So this is a kind of event na
Yes, thank you
talagang
so much.
masasabi nating open forum. Kasi sa, malalaman natin yung stand ng bawat. But don't remember guys, it is an open forum. So even though we have different political beliefs here, since we really different from each other. So don't lagi niyo tatandaan, there is a there in accordance to the Bill of Rights that we need to respect every political beliefs. That's the reason why gumana tong yung program na to ng soft, kasi hindi naman kailangan mag-away-away. Parang religion lang yan, pag nag-away-away tayo walang mangyayari. Kasi nga may sarili-sarili tayong pag-iisip. So I just want to end this with two quotations. First, the beginning of wisdom
Mhm.
is docta ignoranta, or to know what you know, what you don't know, or what you didn't know. And then the second one is our quotation, salus populis et suprema lex, the welfare of the people is the supreme law. So we are act as one here, and we just want to give knowledge to all of you, and we just want to enlighten all of you here. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. John Efren Fame. We also have Miss Christine Valdez. What is your key takeaway for the audience? Miss Christine?
Hi, first of all, I'd like to thank the LPU Fair for holding this event. To all the audiences, I would say that in this time, critical thinking is very important. And also, since fake news is given na tumataas na, I I would like to call on everyone that don't just believe on everything that you see, or don't believe on everything that you heard. Um, be critical. Learn to be learn to be educated by, or learn from others, and also um, yeah, don't be afraid from discussion. Always be socially aware. And yeah, that would go.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Valdez. And last, we have Mr. Yuri Silimana. What are your important takeaways for the audience?
First of all, thank you for inviting LP UNESCO Club in your event, LPU Pair. Thank you so much. My main
Yes,
takeaway here
thank
is
you
that
as well.
these issues were raised by the youth, and even the election of Biden to the U.S. presidency, to the president as the president of the United States, were mainly due to large voter turnout from the youth sector. So I hope the youth who are watching this program, you should engage more. We should engage more. It is through this
Yes,
engagement
definitely.
It is through this discourse and engagement and participation that we are able to protect the cornerstones of our democracy.
All right, thank you so much. So, our youth leaders has proved us that we can have well-versed argument and be witty at the same time. Once again, I would like to thank our guest for tonight's episode, Mr. John Efren Fame of LPU Lex. Thank you so much. Miss Christine U. Valdez of the Foreign Service Club. Mr. Yuri Silimana of the LPU UNESCO, and Ms. Arian P. Mendoza of the 2030 Youth Force Philippines. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. It is our privilege to have you all here tonight. I am sure we all learned something from each other, and I hope this will also serve as an encouragement not only for our fellow Lyceans but to the youth in general. Do not be afraid in standing up and taking part in the societal issues. With that, this has been Nell Divine Dulay for LPUPAIR's Foolproof 101. No masking, no sugarcoating, fools not allowed. This is Foolproof 101. Thank you and have a good night. Thank you, everyone.